Hi everyone, I'd like to do a shout out to our sponsor, Baco Diagnostics. Early detection is the single most important factor in improving patient outcomes. The Baco Diagnostics team recognizes how impactful a podiatric physician can be and remains committed to supporting you in your role as the first line of defense in diagnosing conditions of the lower extremity. Thanks to the unwavering support of their clients, Baco Diagnostics has been able to give back to the podiatric community for 16 years by providing podiatric educational resources and advocating for the position. Baco Diagnostics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet. If you have not yet had the opportunity to utilize Baco Diagnostics services, get started today by sending an email to corporaterelations@bacodiagnostics.com. The first 50 podiatry offices who request a starter kit will receive a Dean's Chat mug. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I'm the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine and co-host for the Dean's Chat podcast. Once again, I am joined by my co-host, Dr. Johanna Richey. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
I am doing great. Little tidbit today, Joe. We're recording our 250th episode.
Yay! It's a big celebration day. We have an amazing guest for it.
Oh, we do have an amazing guest. And Joe Coppola, welcome. Dr. Coppola, welcome to Dean's Chat again.
Thanks for having me again. I'm very excited to be here again and happy to be sharing this very special episode with both of you. So.
Well, thank you. And in all transparency, it's our 250th episode, and we've had one day when we had faulty audio in all of our instrumentation, and it was the day that we originally interviewed Dr. Coppola. And gosh, we're glad you came back, because when we lost that interview, I thought, oh my God, that was so good. We got to get him back on. So I'm really excited that you're back. And of course, as you know, we go, we're informal, so we go first names. And to prevent confusion, we'll go Joe, Joanna, and Jeff.
Perfect.
All right. Let me give you a little more formal introduction here, Joe. You went to the New York College of Podiatric Medicine. You did your residency program at the Metrowest Medical Center in Framingham. Mm-hmm. You currently have two positions that together make up a full-time job. One is with the Community Health Center in Lynn, Massachusetts, and also at the Health Center in Peabody, not Peabody, Peabody.
No, Peabody.
Peabody. I knew I was going to mess that one up.
No, it's common. It's a common thing people say. You're fine.
Well, it's just wonderful to have you on. One of our goals is not only to interview students and residents and practitioners that are seasoned, but younger practitioners, to try to get a lay of the land and get your experience coming out of school and residency and getting on your feet in practice. So I know we had a wonderful discussion last time, and we'll have it again. Maybe I'll just kick it off and say, tell us about your current roles, your positions, and the patient populations, and how you kind of found those opportunities.
Of course. So I have actually a strong background working for community health centers, or what people call federally qualified health centers. We can go into that in a little bit, but I always knew that I wanted to work in one. For those who don't know, FQHCs is what people call them, are basically health centers that meet certain federal requirements. They receive certain fundings. And the point of those health centers are to specifically care for underserved or underprivileged population. A lot of people who either don't have insurance or underinsured or on a government-sponsored type of insurance. And so prior to podiatry, I had been working in one, and I knew I wanted to get into one. And so finishing residency, I saw the position post, and a little bit of imposter syndrome. I was like, oh, I don't think they want me. Why would they want me? I'm like fresh, the populations tend to be harder. And I all worked out, and I'm there almost 2 years now, actually. I'm there part-time, which is great, because I few days a week get to deal with a lot of complex things. And then the end of my week, I kind of work in it's more of a retirement community. So it's kind of like an older population, a lot of general things. But one of the biggest things, believe it or not, that I see there are nasty wounds from people falling in the shower, wheelchair banging into chairs, things along that nature. So different types of wounds and stuff like that I get to deal with. So I really like the contrast between my two positions. And not only that, I love variety. I always loved variety, and I think it's great to kind of split up the week doing so. So I'm happy with how my setup, I should say.
I would say so. Joe, last time we talked a lot about giving back, underserved communities. And we see that with our students today, even, Joe. I mean, everybody's looking for different ways to contribute to society as a whole. So, Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that one was at me, Joe.
I'm sorry,
Like,
it was a Joanna, Joe.
Yeah, it's okay. I kind of used to like the feedback, the way that we go, Joe. So I would love
Sorry
to
about
hear a
that.
little bit from you about community health centers are unique in their patient population, vulnerable communities, but they're also different than like a medical center or medical community. So could you talk a little bit about you had previous experience working in a clinic, and I know we have students that are interested in public health when they'll come in, or prospective students when they come and interview, and they're interested in serving in a public health type capacity. Can you maybe comment a little bit about how that kind of played out for you?
Yeah. So again, I strong history of working in these types of centers. I've always was interested in public health myself. Um, and I identify with an underserved population. So I things kind of just fell in my lap. And there are many what they call look-alike centers. I don't know if people have ever heard that term. That kind of, are targeted clinics. But what really sets, I guess, the community health center apart is just the funding aspect of it. But for those interested, and I'm sorry if I digress, to work in this population, know that it is very challenging for many reasons. Not only do people have many comorbidities, lack of education regarding the healthcare system in America, but also lack of resources. I know I mentioned that last time. You kind of have to get crafty with things. So it's kind of keeps you on your feet, like I'll give you a prime example. My uh, the job that I have at the retirement community, I have every wound care product you can think of. I have every kind of non-adherent dressing you can think of. Pull it off the shelf. Where at the community health center, because we are relied on funding, a lot of times our funding doesn't go to that. And so you have to be crafty. And patients can't pay for, prescriptions and stuff. Like if you wanted to give like someone, say, let's an enzymatic debrider, people can't pay that. So you have to start doing things like using vinegar soaps, believe it or not, or call the pharmacy and ask them if they can maybe do a light Dakins for you. Sometimes they say yes, and then they say no. Lots of honey, which I never actually used in school, nor did I use in my training. And I worked in a wound care center for my training. So things like that. And I like that. And, no such thing as custom orthotics in that center. So they do have orthotics, but and they give me felt. So I get to have a little arts and crafts session too. So adjusting them, adding this, taking out that. So I know I kind of digressed from your original question, but I really do think that it's rewarding. It keeps you on your feet at all times. And people genuinely are grateful for honestly, just letting them come in the door and talk to you. I see that there versus some of the other places that I worked at. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that and appreciate that feedback. Having some experiences in my own kind of career, the challenges that the U.S. healthcare system provides to patients generally are difficult to navigate. But then you add in some of the socioeconomic stressors that people are under, and again, a lot of times I feel like some of these patients, they just feel like nobody cares. And so having providers that are willing to just listen, we can't fix everything, but even just being able to give people small solutions to make their life a little bit better. And sometimes big solutions, there's problems they have that we can help them fix. And so I appreciated you commenting on some of that the last time we had talked, because again, I've had several students. Actually, we just interviewed a resident, and she was talking about her favorite experience right now is actually in some of these, marginalized communities where she feels like she has the most impact on helping people. And so it's nice to know how many different options there are out there for students that are interested in serving in all kinds of different capacities. So
absolutely, all different kinds of pathways. And and you will learn so much more too, working at these, just from what I mentioned before, regarding the craftiness, but also to learning how, to work around some loopholes, learning how to, I learned Spanish actually, just to be able to talk to my patients, because majority of them don't speak English, they are speak Spanish. So again, the learning, post residency, working here, has honestly helped me not only in my podiatric career, but actually in just my life in general. So it's I think it's a done deal. Not to mention the tuition help, tuition reimbursements. That's a whole other topic for a different time. But yeah.
Would you be willing to touch on it? Because I know there's a couple, like IHS has a tuition reimbursement program, the federal government for possibly where you fit in, and then also military. So if you wouldn't mind commenting a little bit, as much as you'd like to share.
Oh, of course, I love sharing. So working in the center that I am in specifically, you obviously it's a public service, so public service loan forgiveness. All your payments will count for that. So that's number one. And then being in the state of Massachusetts, there is another program called I believe it's the Mass Community Health Center Scholarship Program. Don't quote me on that, but it's Mass Community Health Center League something. And that's also essentially another way to help pay for loans, where you just essentially apply, you fill out an application, there's an essay, and it's for doctors, it's for nurses, any advanced providers. And if you are awarded money, and money can be from 10 up to, I think one of my colleagues gets 60K, you just have to give them X amount of years for what you're awarded. So, if you get 60K, you're going to have to, I think it's like 4 or 5 years you have to work in one, versus, the 10, which might be like a year, 2 years. So you can basically get both of those at the same time. And then, so those are the two major ways to help with loans that you already have, but they also have programs for career advancement. Like I am taking like a wound care certification course to hope to get wound care certified. So they pay for that through one of their tuition programs. So it's just, there's a lot out there, believe it or not, that they provide for benefits. And so just as working part-time, which is a lot of places don't provide those types of benefits part-time.
Yeah, and that thank you, because that's so helpful, because again, these are the questions that students always have that, in fairness, they feel like no one talks about, because nobody really talks about it. And it is expensive to go through school, and so just knowing what options are available, again, some options appeal to some students in certain ways, and so just knowing what is out there and how to ask the right questions sometimes is half the battle.
Yes, absolutely.
Joe, you've really been in the fabric of the Boston community for a long time. So I was going to turn the clock back a little bit, perhaps to 2012. You were a teacher in the Boston Public Health Commission. You taught anatomy, physiology, and biology to high school students. Did that stimulate some of your passion for learning and education down the road?
Yeah, so my mom's a teacher, so it's always just been in my blood. I've always watched her plan, lessons and grade and stuff like that. But that opportunity actually stemmed from a research opportunity that was my full-time job through my undergraduate university. And I was approached by the Boston Public Health Commission, which is huge here in Boston. And again, going along with the theme with underserved, underprivileged, they have a program for inner city high school youth to bolster diversity within the Boston healthcare community. So that program was where I taught for. So I taught high school students, believe it or not, at BU School of Medicine, which is where they held the courses and stuff like that. And I was able to do that multiple times a week for just a couple months out of the year. It wasn't a full year thing. But it was really awesome. Again, working with inner city youth, high school youth, which was great, teaching them things that I genuinely enjoyed. And I got to create my own lessons. I ran dissections. This is right out of college too. I had fun little labs. It was just so fun, and I learned that a lot of those students did going into health careers. So that made me so happy. And it's so funny on social media. Sometimes you see those, do you remember this photo from 8 years? And I still get, those photos of every year I take a class photo, and I could see little Joe there with the littler students. It was just really fun. And I think, again, having my mother as a teacher and having doing this, at some point in my life, I know I will go back into teaching in some capacity for sure. I love it.
You transition from there into a health navigator. So all of this is aligning up perfectly with what you're currently doing. And you were a health navigator, which is putting healthcare needs of patients as in a way to make it accessible to them. Could you comment on that a little bit?
Of course. So that was at another federally qualified health center known as Fenway Health. Yes. That health center is predominantly for the LGBTQ plus community here in Boston, but anyone can go there. And my job as a health navigator was essentially to pair people up with any type of benefit that they needed, whether it was accessing insurance, or getting certain types of testing that they needed, or emergency type of medications and things along that line. Additionally, I was trained as a phlebotomist through there, because I had to draw labs for certain types of STI testings. That was a big thing that they were doing there. And I kind of really learned a lot about that type of medicine. And it, again, rewarding, especially because not only helping the underserved, but it's a community that I identify with. So it was, I think, double the reward. And I've met some really great people. Sometimes I still see them around the city here. And I actually, that job kind of indirectly led me to podiatry. Because let's be honest, I got laid off because it was part of a grant. And I was like, oh, malfunction. What do I do next? You've been out of college for 5-ish years. And I always knew I wanted to go into medicine. But in that free time that I had, I met a podiatrist who was like, have you ever thought about podiatry? And I was like, why would you want to look at feet? But I ended up shadowing him, and he was great. He was awesome. He was just so gung-ho pro podiatry. And prior to that, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I shadowed ER docs, internal medicine, infectious disease. And I kind of got, I don't know what the proper word to say is, the feeling was different. I felt like people weren't so happy. They always asked, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to go into this? Are you sure you want to do this? I might not go into this. I'm being honest, that's what I got. But from that one podiatrist, he was like, I would do it over in a heartbeat. So I was like, you know what? This might be an outlier. Let me go. This was an older male. I was like, let me go shadow a young female. Like, let me go the other end of the spectrum. Obsessed, loved her, awesome. I consider her one of my mentors to this day. I still text her all the time with because she's been practicing like 10 to 12 years now. I text her questions all the time. She also loved it. Kind of got more into it, talked more about the variety and how it worked with her life, and how she made a career out of it. And I was like, all right, fine. One more person. There has to be. And I like threes. I like threes. So we can't just do two, right? So I shadowed one more person, just a recommendation from this other person. And again, same kind of feeling. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go with it. And here I am on the Dean's Chat.
Well, Joe, were you ready to go right into podiatry school, or did you have to go back and make up a few courses, or how'd that play out?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I'm what you would consider a non-traditional student. I ended up total being 6 years from graduating undergrad to starting podiatry. In that 6 years, I did to do a few courses, like undergraduate courses that I just wanted to help raise some of the grades. Luckily, with community health center that I was working at, they funded that, so I didn't have extra loans. So again, another perk. And I, was thinking prior to this, I was like, do I need a master's? Like, should I go like that route? Is this podiatry really for me? Should I do like apply to American medical schools? Like my brain was everywhere. I was 27 years old at that time. And I was just like, and I ended up actually finding, I toured the New York school. And people don't know about this, but the New York school has the January start called, a lot of people aren't aware of that. And when I toured it, the admissions advisor, counselor person was like, we actually have this program that I think you'd be a good fit for because you'd been out of school for so long. And I was like, I was like, and I was like, tell me more. And she was like, no, it's just you start in January versus August. And, someone like you who's been out of school for, 6 years, she's like, you kind of go into it slowly. So by the time the full class comes in August, you've already have 3 to 4 courses under your belt. So the rest of the time, well, the preclinical years is you have 1 class less. And so it really I was grateful because undergrad obviously is completely different from podiatry, not only in the content and in the pace, but like how you have to study, right? So it was a great segue, into it. And not only that, I had basically lived in Boston my whole life, and now I'm living in one of the biggest cities, New York City. So that was also a transition, and it all worked out. It all worked out perfectly. Everything was aligned.
There's a lot to be said for lightening the first 2 years. The basic science load is, we break them in slowly here at Arizona. We start with physiology we start with anatomy and biochem, and in the second quarter we add physiology. So we ramp them up a little bit. But the rest of the first year and the second year is so intense, and there's exam after exam after exam. And sometimes the students don't feel like they can do justice to the course without enough study time. So I could see where that would be very beneficial.
Yeah. So you end up taking general anatomy, just general anatomy. That's it. So that's a big, huge chunk of course that you're just focused on that.
Right.
So that was awesome. But I mean, I did teach anatomy, so it kind of helped me a little bit. But again, still different.
You were dissecting frogs and fetal pigs.
Frogs and pigs and cats. Yeah. Not the cadaver stuff, but at least I had a little heads up on the structures of the body compared to some of my colleagues, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Joe, before we get into the next segment, you mind if I do a little shout out to our sponsor?
Yeah.
All right. For Bacco Diagnostics, we all know that early detection is the most important determination in improving patient outcomes. Bacco Diagnostics remains committed to supporting you in your role as the first line of defense in diagnosing lower extremity pathologies. Bacco Diagnostics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet. Joe and Joanna, we do shout outs to Bacco all the time because they've given so much back to our profession, from students to residents to practitioners, and that continued education is present everywhere you go, any meeting that you go to. But Joe, I particularly brought this up for this episode, because I know you had an opportunity to participate in their 2-week fellowship program a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. In my last few months of residency, I was able to do their mini fellowship on recommendation from some of the prior residents in my program. And it was great because not only did I get to, well, go down to Georgia, kind of get a little break from from residency. I got to learn a lot of techniques on from the correct way to take biopsies down to what happens to your biopsy the second you put it in formalin and ship it off. So that was just great to see. And with the fellowship, a lot of the times you're working directly with the pathologists who are reading these slides. And so I basically got to see what onychomycosis looks like under a microscope, or things along that line. So it was really great. And they actually give you their phone numbers too. So they're like, if you ever need anything, give us a call. And I also got to see the importance of writing a nice detailed description when you send off a specimen, even an x-ray, which is obviously not part of BACO, but like even an x-ray. So I saw the importance of it, right? Because if you think of it, you're getting let's say you get a punch biopsy and you're like, black lesion foot. That's all they have to work with. So now I'm always make sure that I'm like writing nothing crazy, but at least a few sentences, and if I can attach a picture, like even better. So I think it was just a great, I guess the best way to say it was a symbiotic relationship where I actually got to learn a lot of different cool techniques, actually. So I would do it again.
So how did they break up the 2 weeks for you? They had a place for you to live when you went down there?
Yes, sir. Yep. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just curious about the itinerary or the curriculum, so to speak.
Yeah, so it's 2 weeks. It's basically 2 weeks. It's one weekend. We got there, I think, on a Sunday. We checked into the home, or Monday, I forget which day. We checked into the house. It's a whole house. And there was like 3-bedroom home, multiple levels in a really safe, nice community in Alpharetta, Georgia was the name of the town. And then from there, they have a whole itinerary for you of combination of, again, working directly with the pathologist, reading the slides, them teaching you about that stuff. You do tours of the facility. You learn, they do workshops on how to do, punch biopsies, shave biopsies, every kind of biopsy you can think of. They teach you which one goes in this fixative, which one goes in that fixative, keep this one dry. And then you get these, I actually have it on my desk, you get a great little book too, which is also available online. For those who don't know, you can find this online, about, if you're looking at this, which biopsy should you do? What should you put it in? The technique. But in terms of the day-to-day, yes, it was just a combination of working with pathologists, tours, hands-on activities, and I feel like I'm missing one major thing. Oh, there's a lot of self-directed. There's a lot of readings and stuff for you to do on your free time when you're not doing any of those other things I said. And you're there usually with 1 to 2 other people, and it was great because actually one of my friends from school was there with me, and so we got to connect. So it was a great time, especially when you have free time. So yeah, it was a great little experience. And then you got to meet all the BACO people. And I even met the pet snake that lives there.
I didn't know about the pet snake.
I didn't know about the pet snake either, but I think he needs to become like a social media icon.
Yeah. Well, actually, no one knows this, but that's my #1 fear. Snakes. So I actually was very scared, but and I think it was like a python. It was like a big snake. It's like a boa constrictor, something like that. But if you're listening to this, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And by the way, it's not free roaming. It's a pet snake. It's in a cage. It's not free roaming.
That's awesome.
Be clear. Okay.
That is incredible. In fact, Joe, I don't know, Joanna, I don't know if you know this, but one of our students who's got a month break, right, for vacation, she's going to take that break and she's going to go do the BACO mini fellowship as a student.
Yeah,
So,
I know we had a couple students that reached out to them to see if that was an opportunity. And I know if we're thinking of the same person, I know they're very excited about it.
absolutely. Anyway, thank you for sharing that,
Of
Joe.
course.
I
And
mean,
one last thing, pro tip to the residents who might be listening. A lot of times the Baco Fellowship would suffice for either your dermatology or pathology rotations. So that's another fun little tidbit.
something tells me they probably took good care of you and went out to good restaurants and had a lot of fun too.
They definitely take you out to a restaurant, a nice dinner one of the nights, and they provide food throughout the day while you're there. Yes.
That's fantastic. Your thoughts. Joanna, your thoughts.
And even just the aspect that you had highlighted, Joe, about you had other people that were there with you to make this a fun, a learning experience, but also kind of, again, build the fun back into your life, having the opportunity to engage with residents from other programs. And I think that that's outstanding. And yeah.
It was great because the person was one of my closest friends from pod school, and we both signed up together. And there was one other person with us, but they actually didn't stay in the house because I think they had a family member or something who lived there. So it was basically me and one of my best friends basically in this large house, just going to this fellowship and then hanging out after. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, and having it as an opportunity to be an entire rotation in a residency curriculum. Again, there's so much appeal to that. I remember doing my pathology rotation, and it was absolutely valuable, but having it kind of focused in lower extremity pathology would be incredibly beneficial.
For sure. Yeah, and I knew about, I won't say which one, but the residency program I went to, I'm not with one of those rotations, it really wasn't that big of a rotation, and I definitely learned way more by going to the fellowship if versus if I just stayed and did the traditional path rotation at my school. Great.
So Joe, with all the giving back and underserved community work you're doing, what do you see yourself doing in 5-10 years?
Excellent question. You never know, but I think in 5-10 years, I think I am I definitely want to transition more into wound care. It's definitely what I want to do. I'm kind of actually right now studying for one of the wound care certifications. But I think I want to go into that more, and also, like I said earlier, teach. There's a certain feeling I get when I do teach, and especially when I'm in front of a group of people. I do love public speaking, if you couldn't tell. And so I definitely see myself in the 5 to 10 year plan, hopefully working with the same population, but also adding more of the wound care and the academic aspect to it for sure.
I think that is right up your alley. I think you'd be great at it.
I can't wait for it. I'm putting it out in the universe.
There you go. So I have a question for you with the wound care certification. And it's great, right? And things are always changing in wound care in terms of products and modalities. But really the tenets for treating wounds don't change, right? So when you're taking this prep course, how is that augmenting your training you've already had?
Yeah, great. Well, number one, I guess sometimes there's certain things you forget, right? So it's kind of bringing those to the front lines. Like I said, I was lucky at my residency program, we had a wound care center. So I spent a lot of time in there. But there's also some things you just didn't learn. And let me think of something, like something on the top of my head. Okay, I didn't realize that, like, a lot of people in residency sometimes would use like Dakins to clean wounds, right? I just didn't realize that, like, at a high concentration it's cytotoxic. And so maybe you might know that. I didn't know that, but I learned that from like reading. Tips and tricks. I learned that when putting a a wound vac on, take a little Cavalon wipe or one of those types of wipe the top to take down any micro tears. I've also learned to use stoma paste if you're doing wound vacs. Again, these are things that I never heard of. No one's ever told me. But by studying and reading these things, I kind of like learn. I learned that, and then also to not only that, sometimes you forget about some of the products that are available, right? Because sometimes we have blinders on and we're just, oh, we did a lot of this, in residency or in school, so I'm only going to use this. Um, so you kind of learn again some of those products that you might have forgot and actually sometimes are great.
Yeah.
to
Well,
do,
one of the constants in wound care and in medicine in general, I guess, is change. So if you don't keep up with the latest and greatest, you're going to fall behind. So kudos to you.
Absolutely. And I recently went on like a wound care conference to a sponsored conference, and it was great. I got to work with like a lot of the big name products out there, and it was really cool. It was really collaborative because it wasn't just DPMs, it was MDs, it was PAs, it was wound care nurses, and so everyone just kind of brought their expertise and just played off each other. It's no one acted like I'm better than you, you're better than me kind of thing. It's just everyone really was there to just learn. And I actually learned a lot about too nutrition. I always knew nutrition was important for wound care, but like a lot of the wounds care nurses, there just were very big on ensuring that the patients had adequate nutrition. They were providing me names of certain products that could be used to, augment, I guess, healing of the wound by healing the body. So I guess that's another thing I really it wasn't honed on enough for me that I.
You can give a shout out. I mean, who put it on for you?
Who it was? I forget her name. It was like I could see her face. She was a wound care nurse from Florida, and she was telling me about this one product called Juven, and I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. I even reached out to my residency director. I was like, "Have you heard of this?" And he's like, "I don't even know what that is." And and she's like, "I swear." She's like, "It's expensive." But she's like, if you give it to them, she's like, I swear it'll help heal fast. And I'm like, okay, okay, let's try it. So I forget her name, but if you are out there listening, 5'5", 50-something-year-old woman from that conference in Tampa, thank you so much.
That's great. That's great. Joe, your thoughts?
Oh,
Joanna, your thoughts. Sorry.
I loved working with our wound care nurses. I learned and that exactly to your point, Joe. I had never heard of some of these, Juven being one, even just some of the protein shakes. And again, we just think like it's so easy, like, oh, we'll just take a protein shake. But our patients have kidney disease and diabetes, and some of these generic protein shakes are not appropriate for them. Zinc, like they have all these different vitamins that, again, so I would always consult my wound care nurse, even if it was on a wound that, I would say they always needed them. I will go out and say the always word, which I almost never say. And then a nutritionist. And I learned so much from both of those people in the hospitals. Duoderm was the one that I loved, but like for the toes, because when you're trying to get a seal on a vac, and it's like that just enough. So the Duoderm, like they use on ostomies, again, this kind of integrated opportunities. And so then I just started I'll request it in the operating room, like, bring me the Duoderm, and they're like, what do you want? Okay. But it's amazing to get a seal. Saves so much time.
That's fantastic. Should we do some rapid fires, Joe?
Yes.
You can go first. You can go first. We did this last time, Joe. I remember it was very entertaining.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, but I don't think I had my new questions, so I want to get my new questions from him. All right, so if you could invite anybody to dinner from any time period in history, who would it be and why?
Who would it be and why? Wow. I would invite Harvey Milk. He was big in the LGBT movement. He was an advocate, an activist. And I would like to know how did he become so brave, and how did he not be afraid to just be his authentic self, which ultimately led to a lot of change and, again, a community that I'm part of. So
yeah,
for sure, there's so many people that I'm like, oh, now I'm like, oh my god.
Well, that's the fun part of the question is there's the more you think about it, the more you could like really narrow things down. But like that first kind of gut response is a really fun one. So thank you for sharing that, Dr. Jensen.
All right, Joe, it's cold in January in Massachusetts and you've got a week off. Where are you going?
Ooh, I love it. Well, first and foremost, I love the cold. I love it. Like it's 68 is the thermostat and I'm still sweating. Where am I going? First of all, somewhere I haven't been. I've always wanted to go to like French Polynesia. Like, people always say like Bora Bora, like Tahiti, that area. So ideally that area, but I would want to I always go the path less chosen, right? So I would like to find an island, which I don't know, which I will get back to you, student response, right? What in that area that's remote but beautiful. So French Polynesia will be broad.
Fantastic.
All right, you're going to go out to dinner somewhere. I won't say New York City because I know that. How far away is that? That's far enough away from you. So just somewhere nice for dinner. What kind of food are you eating?
Yeah, so I'm a vegetarian. So I don't eat meat. I'm very plant-based. What am I eating? One of my favorite I love eggplant. So, and my parents are born in Italy, so eggplant parm is like one of my go-tos. But now I've been starting to, I've been starting to experiment with different kinds of eggplant. So, I've been making a lot of baba ganoush, that's eggplant, stuff like that too. So, I know you asked like, what am I eating? Eggplant parm, but plants in general. And now I'm starting to explore non-Italian eggplant stuff.
Yeah.
And so maybe if you ask me at another time, there might be a different answer.
Yeah, throw it in a curry. It's really good.
Right?
So we've cooked some eggplant as we've experimented with various plant-based recipes, and the America's Test Kitchen did a whole episode about the best optimal way to cook an eggplant. Fun things that you could YouTube later.
I'm writing it down right now. Okay.
So sorry, Jeff, I'm totally hijacking this, but it's just a fun fact. It absorbs so much oil that it's hard to get it like not soggy. And so I want to say, and I would have to go back to watch it because we watched it when I was a resident, so it's been a really long time now. I want to say the recommendation was you dry it out in the oven first a little bit, like long duration, low heat, and then you can do like a little bit of oil before if you wanted to try to fry it or something, and then it won't soak up as much oil. But they tried a whole bunch of different ways, and so that may have been one that didn't work, but it's one. It'll be. I'm sure you could find the episode because it was on like
absolutely.
PBS.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, this one's kind of a broad stroke, Joe.
Okay.
I want to talk about books, but books, and from your perspective, right? Authors, types of books, something you're currently reading. What comes to mind?
Yeah, so actually lately I've been reading a lot of like psychology, self-help books. Just because I actually just read I guess it's a banned book in like prisons and certain educational places. I don't know why, but it's called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I loved it. It's very easy reading, and he's basically describing basically 48 laws, and power is not like meaning like dictator, totalitarian, like nothing like that. It just means basically essentially how to be a better version of yourself, and how to advocate for yourself and get what you want. And so I actually recently finished that, and it's like there's like 4 other books in the series. But there's just a lot of great info for people, honestly, to just be more confident, get that job that you're afraid to apply for, learn how to communicate better and things of that nature. So the title kind of sounds kind of scary, but in reality, it's not. And the reason why it's banned in places is because it's so profound.
Do you prefer book or audiobook?
I'm old school, book. And if if it could be hardcover, even more.
Even better. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Of course.
All right, we're gonna go out, grab a beverage, any beverage of choice. What you drinking?
Dirty Tito's Martini. My
Fantastic.
favorite. Extra dirty.
Extra olives.
If you extra olives, and if you have, and let me tell you something. I don't like blue cheese. If you have blue cheese stuffed olives, please put them in there because my friend's dad highlighted this. He's like, I don't know what it is. He's like, something about that little drizzle of blue cheese kind of just it just
Yeah.
makes it even better. And he's truly right. Like
Yeah.
it makes it so much better. So, but he actually drinks his just vodka and blue cheese olives. So, yeah, I was like, I need a little bit of a filler. But yeah, so that's my drink of choice. Anyone
There
listen?
you go. Fantastic.
Well, on that note, Joe, I want to thank you. that's a mic drop advice there. So
cheers
I want
to that.
Yep, cheers, and I want to thank you for taking time for the second time to join us on Dean's Chat. Always enjoy chatting with you. Love your outlook on life and giving back to the profession. Kudos to you.
And all the work you do for your community, Joe.
Absolutely.
It's in so many ways, it's such a wonderful way to share your gifts. So thanks for coming back.
I really appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be back for a third for a different thing, not for a malfunction. But no, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate this. I really love speaking. I love, if I could help, someone listening from what I said today, to me, that's a win. So thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And to all of our listeners out there, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating or maybe even leave a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. Joanna and I will continue to bring leaders in the profession, whether they're student leaders, resident leaders, young practitioners, organizational leaders, and we really appreciate all of you checking in with us each week. So, Joe, we're going to send you Dean's Chat Cup, get the caffeine vibe going, and until next week, everybody, cheers.
Cheers.